And now for my next number, I'd like to return to the
classic. Time.
Hey everyone, Alex back again with a new video. Just like the last video I did, we are doing my top 100 albums. The difference is this time, I'm not doing 100 to 91, I'm doing 90 through 81. Keep in mind, this is just completely my opinion. You guys might think that an album should be placed higher up on this list, or an album shouldn't be on this list at all. That's completely your opinion. I'm just going off of what albums have had an impact on my musical taste over the years, and how big of an impact they've actually had, and how they've influenced my music taste today. So if you didn't see the last video, I'll leave the playlist down in the description below so you can check out all the parts to this when this is complete. I'll be uploading these videos every Sunday until I reveal my number one, and then from there I'll have an extra video a week, just so you guys aren't seeing these videos for the next 10 weeks. But yeah, I am planning a schedule. I'm hoping to get at least 2 videos up on my channel every week, in the process of me and Jenny having our channel and us trying to pack stuff up and find a place to move to. It's going to be hectic, but I'm doing it for you guys. So let's get into my 90 through 81 in my top 100 albums list. I will say now, there are 2 albums off this list I am missing on vinyl. I did have one on CD, but I've packed it in one of the boxes and God knows which one it is. Anyway, I'll just put pictures of the album covers here. But anyway, let's get straight into this. Coming in at number 90 is the Black Eyed Peas Elephunk album. Yeah, this is the album, of course, with Where Is the Love on it. They're a massive song. Let's get it started. Shut Up is on this album. Hey Mama is on here. Latin Girls is a song I really like. This was everywhere on the radio when it came out, and I remember really liking it back then when it came out in 2003, was it? Now you can imagine, can you just about imagine a 6-year-old me pumping this on his little radio every time it came on. I would crank the radio up in my bedroom, and yeah, because that's all I had was my toys and a little radio. So yeah, 6-year-old me.
It's well cute you had a little radio at 6 years old, can I just say.
So I would always have the radio on, listening to music while I was playing with my toys, and any time Black Eyed Peas came on, I would crank the volume up so I could hear the song and sing along to it. So that kind of always stuck with me. Another reason why I really like the Black Eyed Peas' music. Yes, even the stuff with Fergie in it, I know a lot of that stuff is not as popular here in the vinyl community, but this is my favourite Black Eyed Peas album, and I guess always has been and always will be. Yeah, it just takes it back to little 6-year-old me turning this off on the radio anytime it came on. And that was sort of the first time I went out on my own and didn't listen to anything my parents were playing or anything that anyone else around me was playing. Like, this was on my own, discovering them and really getting into them. And of course I sort of fell out of love with their music until many years later when I rediscovered it at like 13 or 14 or something. But yeah, Black Eyed Peas Elephunk comes in at number 90. At number 89, yes, this album should probably be higher, but it's like I said, it's my list. It's Bad by Michael Jackson. It is an incredible album. He had most of the songs on this album were released as singles. You know, Bad, The Way You Make Me Feel, Man in the Mirror, Dirty Diana, Smooth Criminal. They're just a few of them. Another one I was always a fan of growing up. A little bit later on, not as early as Black Eyed Peas, but still remember loving Michael Jackson. In fact, Man in the Mirror, I think, is probably my favourite Michael Jackson song.
It's a great song.
If it's not that, there's one other one that I may or may not be talking about later on in the series. But yeah, Man in the Mirror is definitely up there for in my top 2 Michael Jackson songs for sure. This is just the Michael album I discovered a little bit later on, because obviously I was listening to mostly Thriller, because that was like the album to have. But yeah, Bad, very, very good album, very, well, a classic really, an essential, in my opinion. Michael Jackson's Bad is just a very, very good album, and when he died, I remember being so heartbroken, and I wasn't even listening to his music at that time.
I was devastated.
I was devastated, and at that point, I was very, very much in the middle of my little emo phase. I know, but I remember Michael from when I used to listen to him just before going got into my emo phase, and that really that his death really hit me hard. And I think that I was secretly hoping on the 10-year anniversary of his death he would come on to Billie Jean somewhere at an award show or something and announce that he was secretly alive, like 10 years later.
Fair enough.
But that never happened, so.
He was dead, love.
Well, I know that. 88 is the album I had on CD but can't find it anywhere because it's in one of the boxes and I can't be asked to look. Nas is Illmatic. This is a hip-hop album. Again, don't have this on vinyl, really wish I do, it'd be incredible, but not a big deal. This album, I think this was one I discovered early on because obviously Eminem talked about Nas a lot, and this was always one album everyone would talk about when it came to Nas. And so that kind of sparked my interest in expanding a little bit wider in the hip-hop genre, outside of like Eminem, Jay-Z, Dr. Dre and 50 Cent. If it wasn't one of those four, I wouldn't really care that much. But Nas, he sort of branched the way for me to discover more hip-hop that wasn't just those guys, and that is why he makes the list. Of course, it's a classic album, having massive hits like The World Is Yours, New York State of Mind, Life's a Bitch. Yeah, just some great songs overall. So Nas' Illmatic comes in at 88. At 87, I've got an 80s R&B album here. Well, actually, not 80s, it's 1990, but it sounds like it's from the 80s. It's Gerald Alston with Open Invitation. He is a member of the group The Manhattans, the soul group The Manhattans. After he went solo in 88, 89, that sort of region, so he signed a deal with Motown, goes solo. And unfortunately, as much as I love Gerald Alston's music, he never made it. It was never really huge. It's sort of who he was. You'd go for it. The title track on here is my favourite song off the album. He's got a duet on here with Brenda Russell as well. But yeah, this is just a very good album. Very soulful. It is R&B, and it's another one that sort of branched me over from 80s R&B and slightly into the 90s a bit more. So, but yeah, Gerald Alston's Open Invitation at 87. At 86, and this will surprise some people because I think this is the newest album on this list. No, it's not. But it is fairly new. It came out in 2010, 2011, around that sort of region. It's Alt J with An Awesome Wave. It's the only Alt J album you'll see on the list. But this album, I remember listening to it and I was just blown away. I was even glad when I saw them live that they pretty much performed this album in its entirety, as well as the big hits off their other albums. But yeah, they pretty much just performed this album, and I was just so pleased because this is the album I wanted them to pretty much do most of the songs off of. I don't listen to them as much because, well, it was actually an ex-girlfriend that got me into them. I'm not going to go into that detail right now, but Alt J is a band that I really liked from her music taste, and it sort of rubbed off on me quite a bit. But I only really like this album, and then songs off, like a handful of songs off their other few albums. But it was definitely this album that was enough for me to go and see Alt J in concert. It's a very chilled album. There's a couple of upbeat tracks on it, but mostly chilled, very electronic. They're a 3-piece out of Leeds, so of course I went to go see him in their hometown. Because at that time I was a tiny bit of a bigger fan, but yeah, I really need to reconnect with Alt J a bit more. But their album, An Awesome Wave, comes in at number 86. At number 85, this album was really hard to place on this list. I knew it was going to come somewhere, but I was just trying to figure out where to place it. I'm very happy with where I've placed this album, but again, it could move up depending on how often I listen to this. It's Hotel California by the Eagles. Of course, has the song Hotel California, which is probably the most overplayed song ever. Let's be honest. But there's great stuff on here outside of Hotel California. You just gotta dig. This is the album that made me like a die-hard fan of the Eagles. But yeah, Hotel California by the Eagles. It's a very, very good album. I'm sure most of you know this one already. It's an album with acoustic influences, some big rock influences, but I will admit, I do play Hotel California quite a bit, the song itself, so had to give that one a mention on the list somewhere, and it just so happened to come in at 85. At 84, I believe this is. This is another one that, again, was quite difficult to place because it's an album that I remember like my dad putting on the CD of this in the car once or twice, and it just really stuck with me because of one or two songs that were just incredible. And it is. I'll show you the album and I'll tell you a few stories about it then. But it's Sting, 10 Summer's Tale, or 10 Summer's Tales, I should say. This album is also the reason I am a fan of The Police, the band The Police. But believe it or not, out of Sting's solo stuff, I'm not too keen on the rest of it outside of this. I still need to delve into it a bit more, but this album is definitely the one that I like the most. Obviously, you've got Fields of Gold on here. If I Ever Lose My Faith in You was a great song. Shape of My Heart as well. No, just a brilliant album from front to back. Great musician Sting. Love this album. And happy to throw that on my list. And of course, yeah, this is one that stuck with me from my dad's collection and music taste from when he would put CDs on in the car. So yeah, Sting comes in at 84. 83 is another one I don't own on vinyl, but I probably should because it's not expensive. It's actually quite a cheap album on vinyl. It's Maxwell. Maxwell's Urban Hang Suite, I think it's called, the full album. I always mix up the wording slightly on the album, but I think that's what it's called. Maxwell's Urban Hang Suite. Ascension was the massive hit off that album, and when I first heard that song, I was like, man, he's got a great voice. And it wasn't until many years later I discovered that it was Maxwell, his name. And actually, I like all of Maxwell's albums. This one could potentially be my favorite from him. Sorry, there is another one that could be a favorite, but this one had a bigger influence on my taste, and much like Gerald Olsen, also paved more of a way into me getting into more 90s R&B and branching out more from the 60s, 70s and 80s side of the soul music that I knew more about. helped me delve more into 90s and even beyond that. So yeah, Maxwell's Urban Hang Sweet by Maxwell comes in at 93. At 92, and I'm just going to say for the record, the only band I've seen twice in concert, Vancouver Sleep Clinic. Incredible album. Absolutely incredible. Chilled, electronic, sort of synth pop, dream pop type of music. Loads of great stuff on here. The song Lungs, very chilled. It's got a nice piano piece. Whispers, Killing Me to Love You. The song Revival, which is also the name of the album. Very, very good stuff. In fact, just a stellar album from front to back. The only reason it's not any higher on the list is because I wouldn't say I'm like a massive, massive fan. The fact that I've seen them twice has nothing to do with that. It's just the fact that their tickets are always really cheap because hardly anybody knows about them. I would love, I'd love to see them in concert more because they always put on a good show. They've always got a good support act as well. But this album, like when I discovered it in 2017, it was a great moment for me because I was like, at that time I don't think I'd heard anything quite like it. So it sort of blew my mind a bit that music like this existed. And yeah, it definitely allowed me to get into more chilled music like Alt J, and Cigarettes After Sex as well was another one that really helped me get into more chilled stuff. So yeah, Vancouver Sleep Clinic's Revival comes in at number 82. Finally coming in at number 81, and the last album I'm going to show you in this video is yet another one that I tried to put higher on the list and I just couldn't do it, mainly because again it's one that I lost listening experience with and sort of regained it much later, but that is Triumph by the Jacksons. In my opinion, the best Jacksons album or Jackson 5 album that is out there. It has Can You Feel It on it and Heartbreak Hotel. Yeah, it's just a pretty phenomenal album from front to back, and this is the album that actually made me a Michael Jackson fan. Outside of Michael Jackson's solo stuff, obviously, because I was already a fan. I really only checked it out because I recognised Michael's face on the cover, and I was like, man, these guys are really good. Lo and behold, then they discovered that the Jacksons came before Michael Jackson went solo, and had a massive career and worked with Stevie Wonder and Lionel Richie and even worked with Paul McCartney. But yeah, this album definitely had an impact on me and allowed me, basically made me want to delve deeper into music, because I had what I listened to and what my parents listened to, but I didn't have very much my own music, as I want to call it. And sort of this was kind of one of those albums because I went out and discovered it on my own, because I already listened to Michael from my mum. But yeah, the Jacksons' Triumph comes in at 81. So with all that said and done, guys, thanks so much for tuning back into the channel. Sorry if this part was a little bit longer than you guys anticipated, but I kind of wanted to go into there's a little bit more detail on some of those albums than I anticipated, but also less on some others that I anticipated as well. But yeah, this was the second part to my top 100 albums video. There'll be more parts to come. Obviously, I'm doing this 10 albums at a time, and eventually we will get to my top 10. But for now, I've just shown you my 90 through 81. So I hope you guys did enjoy. Give it a thumbs up if you did. Subscribe if you're not already, and hopefully we can get closer to that 300 subscriber mark. And yeah, and also subscribe to mine and my girlfriend's joint channel, because we want to get that channel boosted a bit more. And you also get to see some behind the scenes footage every now and again of my vinyl channel. So go over there and subscribe. And I'll see you guys again very soon. Peace.